Sorry, that's just anti-trans.
This is Dr. Z PhD. Don't you know? Don't you know? You know what's funny? I don't know if her name used to say transgender adults in it, but it does now. I mean, listen, it is better than it could be. Yeah, can you see? Can you see? No, you can't. Okay, where it says transgender adults. Anyway, yeah, so we'll just watch this for the time being. So, Understanding the Differences, Feminine Men versus Trans Women by Dr. Z, PhD, Gender Specialist, Transgender Adults. Important, they don't work with kids. That's at least something. I have some pictures of me in like full makeup. I can go on my Instagram, try and find one that doesn't look terrible. I look to write, but it gets to the point. What I found is it got to the point where I could only feminize myself so much using makeup, and then once I hit the wall, it was kind of just frustrating, and I just started getting discouraged. Which I have a feeling is probably quite a common experience for transgender women, quote unquote.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Z. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. Today I would like to discuss with all of you the difference between somebody who identifies as a feminine man versus a trans female.
These to me are the exact same thing. Have I tried having curly hair before? Yeah, I did like kind of curly hair. I think it was Charlie's sister's wedding. I do it like now and then, but I don't like using heat stuff on my hair too much, just because I don't want to fuck it up. But hey, maybe I'll do it before stream one day. Yeah, feminine man versus trans woman. Like, what's the difference really? I guess we'll see. Yeah, she's Russian, I think, but I would presume is based in the US or something like that, because I don't imagine asked where she graduated.
Identity, trans woman's identity. I get this in my private practice a lot.
And I mean, it's already like, what are the difference between these two identities? I see them as identities, to be honest. So to me, they're the same thing. If the only difference between one thing and another is what you call yourself, then to me, those are the same thing. One has gender dysphoria and one doesn't. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm both things. I think I'm a feminine man, and I think I'm, well, what you call a trans woman. I try not to use the term trans woman too much. But it applies to me. I went through transition. Like, what more do I need to do?
I get a lot of people reach out to
Imagine paying money to get this haircut. Yeah, she'd look cuter with a different haircut for sure. She's quite attractive, but I don't know.
me, trying to figure out how much of what's coming up to the surface is actually aspect of their femininity coming forward, or how much of that has to do with them actually potentially identifying as a trans women.
Wait, so either... Oh, hi, NTR Derp. Hope you're good. Hang on. I had thoughts and I forgot them.
Actually, aspect of their femininity.
So either they have internal or innate femininity, or they have an identity. That's the difference, I guess. That sounds strange to me.
Coming forward, or how
Well, you watch me, Mr. Clacker. I don't know, there's some.
much of that has to do with them actually potentially identifying as a trans women.
And like, what does it mean to identify, you know? I think if there's an action that separates one from the other, shouldn't we be identifying, like, defining what that action is? Because to me, like, to identify is an action, right?
So a lot of times what I see is individuals who either assume that they're a feminine man when in reality they actually are trans identified women. And I also see the reverse true when individuals think they are transgender women when in reality all they are is a feminine man. And sometimes it
Wait, so people's identity isn't always correct then? They're identifying as something erroneously. Wow, that's not going to go down well, but... Are any of these fools going to pick up on that? Probably not.
can be not so easy to distinguish the two, but oftentimes with enough knowledge of what constitutes a feminine man and what constitutes a trans feminine identity, it becomes much more easier. In my private practice, I gotta be honest.
Yeah, see, I need to know what constitutes those things. I hope she'll explain. Being a normie doesn't unwarrant your opinion around here. Don't worry about that. Yeah, the problem I tend to have is I'm like, okay, well, if you can explain what the difference between these things are, then that's fine, surely. But often that's not what happens. So I don't know. She's got 17 minutes to convince me, I guess.
With all of you, I see a lot more individuals who
tired of big bulky bags of processed kibble or defrosting expensive meats.
Allow themselves to think and to believe that there are more feminine men than there are actually carry trans identity, and oftentimes that stems from an inner area of resistance, an inner area of holding yourself back from fully accepting and acknowledging. Usually that stems from either denial or repression, but it can also stem from fear, right? For a lot of individuals, it is often scary to acknowledge or to come to realization that they are transgender, because what happens once you realize
you don't realize you're transgender, you come to that conclusion. No one can know that they're transgender. It doesn't make sense to describe it that way. One would hope that a therapist would understand that, but hey. Sorry, just give me one sec. In my experience, I've known quite a few people claiming to be trans yet putting in none of the effort. They take the meds, blah, 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 and call themselves women, but if they just want the title, yeah, fair enough. Like, it's definitely a point of contention for me that someone isn't something just because they call themselves that thing, you know? Am I in the middle if I do this thing? Fucks me. I meant to say fuck me. I need to stop swearing. I keep meaning to put like a post-it note on my screen or something saying stop swearing. Because it's probably not helping me trying to get monetized and shit, but I don't know. This is a process. It's going to take time. Anyway.
If you're transgender, your brain can help it but jump to all of these futuristic scenarios of what that might entail, including transition. And for a lot of people, it is overwhelming and very scary.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to sound weird. I'm quite skeptical of trans, despite being trans. But at the very least, like, if all the differences between one and the other is calling yourself a thing, then to me that isn't a difference, you know? Like, anyone can call themselves anything ultimately. I can be an attack helicopter by calling myself it. Like, well, if that's how it works, then that's a bit preposterous in my opinion.
For that reason, it is natural for our minds to put something in place to prevent us from moving forward, especially if we have not confronted those fearful parts of ourselves. So for a lot of people, I do see that they are, in fact, exhibiting a very strong trans feminine identity.
How do you exhibit an identity? And if someone's a feminine man or a trans woman, how would you tell which one's being feminine by what they're exhibiting, aka how they present themselves and so on? People don't ask me pronouns after my response to the last time. Fuck off, leave me alone. Fair, I should use that. Yeah, this still sounds like exactly the same shit so far. Where's the propeller? Here we go. Is this a propeller? Going round and round, so it must be. If I keep doing it, I might take off, so I'll put that down.
And there's all the signs in their narratives. Remember, as a psychologist, I got accustomed to hearing a lot of gender diverse narratives, and without a doubt, there are definitely pattern layouts there. So they have
pattern layout. She hasn't described the pattern though.
A lot of trans feminine in their narrative, and yet they tend to think or tend to tell themselves that all they are is just a feminine man. So this video is for all of you to see and understand the difference of what does constitute somebody who identifies as man, but
Yeah, so this person is just a PhD, clinical psychologist specializing in the transgender field, working with adults only, which is at least something, you know? Exhibit feminine equals how closely do you conform to the societal notions of gender versus what is the internal experience of gender. Well, yeah, I mean, you can only tell, like, she sort of talks about, like, signs of someone being trans femme or feminine. It's like, you can only really tell based on how they express themselves and what they say. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, she's a clinical she's in, well, she works with Americans and sells courses and shit like that, which makes me very suspicious. Like, selling courses is always a red flag, in my opinion.
has more feminine aspects to himself versus somebody who identifies as a trans woman and has all the feminine aspects to herself. So let's get started. Feminine man.
Okay, we're going to start actually explaining this. Good.
Right? For starters, one of the main characteristics, and I'm sure there's far more characteristics than the ones I'm going to go over, but I'm going to share with you the most common ones. And yes, they are going to touch on some elements of gender stereotypes. I think in this world, we just can't
Yeah, you get what I mean.
fully escape them. One of the characteristics of a feminine man is an individual who, first and foremost, and this is the very important qualifier or distinguisher between a feminine man and a trans-identified woman, is that, first and foremost, the feminine men are very comfortable with their gender. They're very comfortable identifying as men. They're very comfortable with primary and secondary characteristics of their sex. Very comfortable. They're comfortable navigating their life as a man. They're comfortable in their
I don't know if I'm comfortable or just accepting.
relationship to themselves as a man. So this is
And the only way you'll know is people telling you. So I don't know.
the first and very, very important qualifier here, because transgender women, first and foremost, are incredibly uncomfortable with their assigned gender. Transgender women may not have a strong sense of gender dysphoria, but the discomfort, some sense of incongruency with assigned gender is, without a doubt, present. This is the first big things that tend to distinguish. So we want to pay attention that for a feminine man, first and foremost, these individuals are comfortable being men. Now, apart from being comfortable with assigned gender, a feminine man, what
Assigned gender, yikes.
distinguishes them from, let's just say, masculine men or just men, is that in terms of, let's start with presentation. In terms of presentation, a feminine man are much more comfortable to be more creative and more open and more receptive to their gender expression, beyond just sticking to very masculine, stereotypical expression of the self.
Wait, what?
With presentation. In terms of presentation, a feminine man are much more comfortable to be more creative and more open and more receptive to their gender expression.
I feel like those I know from each group, it feels like the opposite. Like, I see a lot of, like, fucking hell. What was I trying to say? I see a lot of, like, trans women, if that's what we're calling them, that have absolutely insane, like, dress senses and stuff. And usually, like, feminine men look a bit more normal, but I don't know.
Beyond just sticking to very masculine, stereotypical expression of the self. A feminine man, in my experience, are much more comfortable expressing themselves through clothing. Their clothing may carry more vibrancy to it or more patterns to it. A lot of things.
This is nonsense.
Things that, for example, some masculine men may feel very uncomfortable to wear. Colors such as pink and reds. And
like, so far, just making this up. Like, I've seen so-called, like, trans women do all of this stuff. And, like, feminine men looking fairly normal and wearing fairly drab clothing.
And yellows and greens. A feminine men are very comfortable with that because, again, a feminine man by nature are men who are very comfortable with their assigned gender. They don't feel like their expression or any
like comfort in your gender. That's a really weird distinction. He insulted our trans community dressing. Listen, I don't know how clear it is. I'm not the most colorful, vibrant dresser in the world, and that is just fine by me. I'm fine with dressing kind of drab.
Any movement toward a feminine energy.
Like until recently, like I wear like white stuff and like cream colored stuff and like beige stuff. I used to just wear black like all the time. That's all I would wear.
Energies anyway negates or undermines their comfort with their gender. So their expression is going to be much more open and receptive to
Gender has zero impact on someone's fashion sense. I don't know if I agree, but then I don't know. There's no real uniform definition for gender. And like, I don't know. I guess your environment and who you grow up around and who influences you is super important. I'd have to agree with her on the expressiveness. I know feminine gay men who dress way more diverse in their dress sense than most dudes. Yeah, but do they do that way more than like trans women? Because I see trans women like doing all sorts, you know? And that's what the distinction is meant to be. It's feminine men versus trans women. Feminine men aren't defined by their clothing, but their psyche.
Numerous expressions out there. And feminine men also energetically and emotionally are going to be more open, more receptive. They are
like, what if you're comfortable in your gender, but you wear stuff like kind of what I wear? Then which one are you?
Are going to, in my experience, they often have incredibly fantastic listening skills, incredibly fantastic attunement, very strong emotional vocabulary and receptivity. Again, it may sound like I'm stereotyping, but by nature, men who identify as very masculine or...
It may sound like I'm stereotyping. It's almost like all of this is like around stereotyping, but okay.
Just men in general, byproduct of how men are being brought up, not to talk about their emotions, not to be open, not to be receptive. Feminine men are, in my opinion, men who have integrated healthy feminine in such a way where they have this beautiful balance. Their assigned gender being masculine.
Listen, I haven't watched The Incredibles, so I'll just let everyone else find that funny because I don't get it.
Is something that anchors and grounds them, but then the ways they lean and the ways they move forward in the world is this feminine balance. And I think that's a really, really healthy type of mix. I really hate that we still use socially the word a feminine man. These are just really healthy men, in my opinion. These are just healthy individuals who have such healthy balance of femininity and masculinity. Feminine men also are going to be more open and comfortable with stereotypically female activities, stereotypical things that tend to be identified as only women things to do. Knitting, doing laundry, cooking, for example. All of the things that we socially and culturally...
Jala Kachik. This woman is a therapist. She is a, clinical psychologist specializing in the transgender field. We're trying to find out what the difference is between feminine men and trans women.
Surely assigned only to women professions, women activities, women hobbies. And feminine men are going to be very comfortable either engaging in it. They're going to have a much more healthy predisposition for those activities. So that's a really, really good example. Now, I'm thinking of how to phrase this.
Yeah, usually if I'm muted, I do notice like relatively quickly because I can see the thing going up and down. If it's grayed out, I'm muted. But yeah, it's going to happen occasionally.
Like I said earlier, it is very common for individuals to hold themselves back from acknowledging that they're trans women, trying to believe or
hold themselves back from identifying as trans. So far, the differences we've got are feminine man is supposedly more flamboyant in how they dress and are comfortable in their gender. Okay.
think that all they are is just a feminine man. Not all.
Why does excuse me, let me try that again. Why does discomfort in your gender mean that if you're male, you're actually a woman? Why does that mean that?
But by far and large, I see a lot of people experience this. One of the big distinguishing factors, like I said already, is being comfortable with assigned gender. Now, I have met a lot of people who tell me, I'm comfortable with navigating and moving life being a man. And then they go on and to express the body discomfort, which actually what they're describing is body dysphoria without realizing it. For example, if an individual who is assigned male at birth feels a strong desire, daydreams, wonders what it's like to have a woman's body, has a desire to have breasts, has a desire to have female genitals, has a desire.
If you want to be a girl, you're a trans woman. Again, why does wanting to be a girl make you a woman?
To navigate life as a woman in
Like, it's probably not the most abnormal thing in the world to wonder what it's like for the other sex, you know? Why does that make you a woman?
in essence, in physicality, has a desire to embody female physique. Well, my friends, that is not a feminine man. Like I said before, a feminine man are very comfortable with their physical attributes and presentation of being a man. They don't daydream. They don't think about, they don't desire being women. They enjoy a lot of activities. And
Where's she finding the rules for this? Up here, making it up. That's what most of them do.
in fact, they don't really think about the activities or the ways they express themselves as, oh, I'm being a feminine, or I'm engaging in feminine activities. It's almost as if the line between those things that we are.
What are feminine activities? Like cooking, washing up? Listen, I'm putting words in her mouth.
So polarizing in terms of gender doesn't exist for them. I see this, in fact, so much in people who are super creative artists, writers, anybody who's very, very creative, have this healthy balance where they go beyond stereotypical genders. But yet again, they don't imagine or envision life as a woman. They don't imagine or envision.
Like, how do you know? How do you know, like, a feminine man doesn't occasionally daydream about being a woman, but understands that he'll never be one?
Having the physical attributes of a woman. Transgender women, on the other hand, do. It makes
I love how she is speaking for men. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, we're all leftists. Men don't get a say in anything anymore. That's a joke.
sense because these are individuals who are not comfortable with their assigned gender. There's the individuals who identify as trans women as women, so at the very end of the binary spectrum. And it's natural that one is going to daydream and desire and think and fantasize about physical attributes, physical embodiment of female physique. That is one of the big fundamental differences. So when it comes to what I say about physical attributes,
what happens is that OBS likes to shit me up now and then by being like, hold on, we need to connect your channels again. And I'm like, oh shit.
embodiment of female physique. That is one of the big fundamental differences. So the individuals who identify as trans women as women, so at the very end of the binary spectrum. And it's natural that one is going to daydream and desire and think and fantasize about physical attributes, physical embodiment of female physique. That is one of the big fundamental differences. So when it comes to what I see people who come to work with me and they say,
one daydreams about being a woman, the other doesn't. Wow. Amazing.
So for that reason, I don't even look at stereotypical activities or not, because to be honest, those should for all of us go beyond gender identities, right? Because all of those activities and expressions of ourselves, we culturally, socially gender them, but those things are truly without gender. Knitting and doing laundry.
What about breastfeeding? What about giving birth to a child? Are those things gendered?
Is genderless. It is us who assign gender to it.
What about... No, that's too crass. But you get my point. And the thing is, there are reasons why these kind of things have been gendered traditionally, even if these days we feel like we've moved beyond that. And women can do basically the same kind of shit that men can. But there's still reasons for that. And there's still things that men can do that women can't. Or that overwhelmingly men do and women don't. Or vice versa. You know what I mean?
So I don't even pay attention to activities. If people tell me, oh, I like to do this and this, because I know for a fact that there are a lot of trans women that I worked with who did not engage or partake in stereotypically feminine activities or expressions, who enjoyed what we consider masculine activities. I know a lot of trans women who are into car mechanics. Oh my God, and they're amazing at it. I know a lot of trans women who are into racing cars.
Anime, porn, what else?
I mean, again, things that we culturally gender, but are really truly genderless.
Just living our lives in women's bathrooms.
And I know a lot of trans women who express themselves in a very masculine, very different type of expression. And yet deep down, their core identity is.
Well, how are they a woman? If they're male and they do stuff that you think is stereotypically male, where's the woman part? It can't just be identity. That doesn't make any sense. Hi, Ink Searcher.
One female. So again, looking at activities, and anybody listening who is right now trying to figure out for yourself, are you a feminine?
Yes, this is Edna from The Incredibles. I'm just killing time, to be honest. They decide to become a. Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Man, or you're a trans woman? It's not so much.
Well, we're listening to this person tell us the difference between feminine men and trans women, which I maintain are basically the same thing. And I'm talking to Elena shortly. I hope you're good.
Activities or even presentation, but it is more tied to physicality, right? It is more tied to how do you actually feel inhabiting this body. And a lot of feminine men who are, in fact, in reality, trans women, the way they will tell me about how they feel about their current physicality is neutral. I feel neutral. I don't really necessarily love being a man or don't necessarily love my body.
Earlier it's feminine men that are secure in their like gender and stuff. Is this that different? Like they're not saying that they hate it. I don't know.
But I feel neutral. So neutrality is also sometimes a clue because as I said in one of my videos, people who have neutrality are oftentimes.
A movie that shows how a feminine man changes and then kills his view of himself to come out the other side accepting who he is. Doberman. I've not heard of that before. Take the quiz. Jesus Christ, there's a quiz. Oh, am I trans quiz? Have I done this before? I can't remember. I don't know. She just seems to make things up. I don't know. I probably did it before, yeah. Maybe I'll just keep doing it as I go, and I'll decide whether I'm trans today or not. Oh, Marcus Dibb covered her. Crazy. I should watch that. I like Marcus Dibb. Dislike my physical character time. Yeah, I probably would. See, this is a bit difficult because there's a very specific reason why I watch stuff, but okay. I don't know. I'm just making it up. Listen, if she can just make up everything that she believes, then so can I. I don't really think about it much. Assigned at birth pronouns. Oh yeah, and you have to give her your details.
Can be in denial. But again, a feminine man who are truly comfortable being man, but
yeah, the DSM gender dysphoria thing. Don't you need like 2 attributes out of like 5 or 6? And then they complain that the old metric isn't detailed enough, so we shouldn't care about any of the studies from like longer ago, because some of them aren't very flattering to what they want to be true.
Are more in touch with their feminine energy. Do not daydream, do not think about embodying female bodies. They do not think about a desire to have breasts or a desire to have a vagina or a desire.
I'm sure is it the Steensma study? It might be a different one. But the common critique is that it's based on an older version of the DSM. But like, who cares about that, you know? Ask what media you tend to consume. Yeah, true. And like, what if you were specifically investigating stuff? And so you watch loads of trans shit, but for a specific reason, I don't know.
Desire to
feminine energy doesn't exist.
Look like women.
I mean, I don't know. There's like a vibe of each type, I guess, and is based on like stereotypes probably, but it doesn't mean anything really. Should they do about being a Pixar character? Probably.
Just don't have it. A feminine man, in my experience, also don't feminize, actively, fully, all the way feminize, unless feminization is tied to something else for them in their lives. But they don't feminize. They don't.
I mean, everything she's telling me leads me to think that I'm trans after all, which is a bit of an odd sentence to say because I'm like post-op and shit, but still. Auto-Ednophile, there we go. What is the point of her rambling? Because she wants people to go onto her website and book some consultations and, you know, learn about gender and then get their tits cut off or whatever the fuck they do.
They don't need to, because again, they're very anchored and comfortable to their assigned gender. So again, we're looking at the relationship.
This is like a recruitment drive, if anything. That's the whole point of this channel. It's been going for a long time, and I would bet if I watched early like videos, they're exactly the same as this, basically.
To the body. And I had so many individuals who think they are a feminine man, and then they go on and in their narratives they tell me about all of these physical desires, right? And it's almost like you can hear the resistance, because they tell me everything they desire, which is a woman's body, but then they tell me, but I'm also comfortable living.
Everything she's telling you is leading you to believe she's potentially batshit. Yeah, that's a pretty normal response to this.
Life as a man. And here's the thing, the two such strong oppositions seldom can coexist, right? And I say seldom because it's very complicated subject.
Yeah, Dee now, the problem I tend to have when I watch her is like I glaze over really easily, and then I start listening again and I'm like, I have no idea where I am. Is this the same point? Is this a different point? I can't fucking tell. Anyway, I should probably stop. We'll just play
For
it
a
out.
lot of individuals who are wondering, am I a feminine man or am I a trans woman? Look at those physical things. Look at those physical relationship to the body. How do you feel about the body? The body always tells a story. It always does. It's not so much against the activities, or it's not so much the hobbies or all of the things, but it is the body. So, and the same thing, I had sometimes people, it's funny, we live in a generation where there's more, I feel like there's more openness, more broadening openness to how.
Okay, yeah, fascinating. Dr. Z, there we go. Interesting.